Thirsty for popular culture? Episoda. A sparkling channel with all things popular culture. And today, we're kicking off with something that all manga readers and anime watchers of the world have been waiting for. Netflix live-action adaptation of One Piece. For those who are not familiar, One Piece is the manga written and illustrated by Eiichiro Oda, first published in 1996 as two one-shot stories, and then in 1997 when its serialized publication began, now counting over 105 published volumes of chapters. The series, written by Steven Maeda and Matt Owens, is now streaming on Netflix with 8 episodes, each lasting 1 hour, and starring Iñaki Godoy as Monkey D. Luffy, Makenyu as Roronoa Zoro, Tad Skylar as Sanji, Emily Rudd as Nami, and Jacob Romero as Aesop, the first crewmates of the Straw Hat Pirates. Other recurring characters include Vincent Regan as Vice Admiral Garp, Jeff Ward as Buggy the Bombastic Clown, and Peter Gadiot as Red-Haired Shanks. First of all, I'd like to thank Netflix UK for the chance of watching the episodes in advance, and Netflix Italy for the possibility of attending the live premiere event in Milan at the beautiful location of Bagni Misteriosi on the 30th of August. But before talking about the live premiere, let's delve into the world of One Piece. What is the secret behind these two words? What is One Piece? Well, this is a question still left unanswered by the author himself, Eiichiro Oda. In fact, the One Piece is the treasure left by none else than the king of the pirates, Goldie Roger, a man who achieved everything a man could possibly dream of. My wealth and treasures, I'll let you have it. Search for it. I left all of it at that place. On the day of his execution, with these words and his last breath, Gold Roger gave birth to the great era of piracy. The story, both in the manga, in the anime, and in the TV series, follow the adventures of Monkey D. Luffy, a young man wearing a straw hat who has eaten the Gomu Gomu no Mi, the devil fruit that gives him the properties of rubber. Devil fruits? What is that? The devil fruits are objects present in Eiichiro Oda's world which grant to their users, or should we say eaters, the properties or powers of something or somebody. However, there's a catch. For all those who eat a devil fruit, there's a price to pay, and that price is the ability to swim. Should they get in touch with sea water, the users would get immediately weak, or worse, start drowning. Now that we have defined what devil fruits are, it is worth mentioning that there are a lot of devil fruits in Eiichiro Oda's world. A world filled not only with human beings, but also with dwarves, giants, fishmen, and creatures that will leave you stunned for their beauty and most of all, their ability to instill fear in their enemies. The story starts with Luffy setting sail to find Gold Roger's lost treasure and most of all, his own crewmates. As a matter of fact, he starts his voyage alone on a very rusty ship, but it won't be long until he finds his first mate, Roronoa Zoro, the pirate hunter. For those who have not read the manga nor watched the anime, I invite you to start watching Netflix One Piece right now, as it's streaming on Netflix since the 31st of August. But for those who are manga readers and anime watchers, well, brace yourself, because right now we are going to analyze the differences between the manga and the TV show. Of course, I don't want to make many spoilers, so I will keep my analysis limited to the first 2 episodes. But in these very first episodes, there are already many differences, or if we want to call them adaptations, that are quite interesting for those who are One Piece savants. Let's start with a small Easter egg. When Shanks enters Makino's bar in the very first episode, we can hear something in the background, and that's the melody of Binks no Sake, Sake of Binks, the very first song that we hear from Brook, the skeleton, when he meets the Straw Hat Pirates. This is just an appetizer. Let's delve into something more interesting. The very first time we meet Roronoa Zoro is when he is praying for somebody, but he's interrupted by a certain Mr. Seven, a member of an organization called Baroque Works. For those who know the Baroque Works arc, we also know that Mr. Seven's appearance in the manga and in the anime is quite different from the one that we see in the TV show. As a matter of fact, the one portrayed in the manga and in the anime looks more like somebody gotten out of the French Revolution rather than the one that we see in the TV show, who resembles more Mr. Five, or Gem, user of the Bomu Bomu no Mi, a devil fruit granting to its user the possibility of making explosions with its own body. Furthermore, another difference that is actually really important to note is that while in the manga and in the anime, Mr. Seven is a sharpshooter, here in the TV show we have Mr. Seven portrayed as a swordsman that fights against Zoro. This is an interesting adaptation by Maeda and Owens, but let's delve a little bit deeper. Before finding his first crewmate, Luffy finds himself on Alvida's ship. Alvida is a pirate who considers herself the most beautiful and powerful pirate of the sea. And on her ship, there's not only Luffy, but also a young man named Kobe, who is too scared to refuse working for her, too scared to chase his own dream. But Luffy scolds him for not following it. And what is Kobe's dream? Being a marine, so not only Luffy's enemy, but of all pirates. In fact, in One Piece, the Navy is the body of the government that is protecting the seas from the pirates. After having rescued Kobe from Alvida, both Luffy and Kobe set sail to Shelltown, the town where these interesting adaptations happen. In fact, the first meeting between Luffy and Zoro, but most of all Luffy, Zoro, Nami, and El Meppo, doesn't happen within the marine base, but actually at a bar. In the bar, Luffy sees Zoro, a swordsman with 3 swords, who is carrying Mr. Seven's body and asking for food, when a little girl offers him 2 rice balls. At that moment, El Meppo, Axe-Hands Morgan's son, enters the bar, and, allegedly not, supposedly on purpose, stomps on the rice balls that the girl had brought to Zoro. Zoro immediately goes to the ground, picks the rice ball that has been stomped on up, eats it, and tells the little girl, "Delicious." Now, here there is an important parallelism, because this message, this delicious, in the manga, never gets to the girl directly from Zoro's mouth, but actually it arrives to her through Luffy, because when Zoro is kept prisoner within the marine base and meets Luffy, who tries to free him with the blackmail of having him as his first crewmate, of joining his crew, Zoro asked Luffy to tell the girl that the rice balls were delicious. This is a very important moment that defines Zoro's characters to Luffy's eyes, and of course, one that could possibly not be missing in this TV show. So we could consider this all in all a very well adapted moment. But there are many other things, many other elements that we see in this particular scene at the bar that are not to be left untold. Such as, for example, El Meppo's not yet ready haircut, or Nami's skills who are slightly shown to us while she steals a uniform and the keys to enter the marine base. After this, there is one specific moment missing from Luffy freeing Zoro from his imprisonment, and that is the moment that we see in the manga and in the anime when the Marines start shooting at both Luffy and Zoro, and we see Luffy's body repelling the bullets. Although not a fundamental moment, that would have been quite interesting to see on the big screen. From Luffy freeing Zoro to Nami stealing a whole safe with Luffy and Zoro to get the map to the Grand Line, these moments bring us straight to the second episode and one of my favorite arcs within this first season, Buggy's arc. Now this is where things get really interesting for me, because Buggy's arc has been condensed into 2 episodes. And there are some elements that are missing, and I want to understand why. Let's start with the first 2 elements that, in my opinion, are quite important within the series and the manga itself. These moments are 2 fights. The first one, Zoro against Kabaji, and the second one, Luffy against Moji or Mogi and his pet, Richie. Fights that are important not only in order to see Luffy and Zoro's fighting style, but also fundamental in the development of their own plotlines. Let's start by talking about Zoro versus Kabaji. While of course Kabaji has quite the good screen time for the TV series, we do not see their fight happening, if not for a small part when we get to see Kabaji shooting his knife at Zoro while he is bound to a spinning wheel. This moment is definitely important for Zoro because it tells us a lot of what he starts thinking about Luffy, as he tells Kabaji that he doesn't need to believe in Luffy, as Luffy already believes in himself. After this, the fight quiets down quite easily, and that's when we move to the fight between Luffy and Moji. While we do see Moji or Mogi for a glimpse, we do not see his pet lion Richie, who is an important character in this particular arc, both for Moji, for Luffy, and for Buggy. Now speculations come into place, and one might wonder whether this is due to the cost that this might have had for the CGI, or maybe a deliberate choice made by Maeda and Owens for reasons that we do not yet know. What we do know is that when Luffy faces Buggy, we get to see glimpses of his past that tell us more about his relationship with Shanks, how he got saved by the red-haired in a moment of crisis, and most of all, a lot about Luffy's moves and their development. In fact, when Buggy gets defeated for the first time, we get to see too how Luffy's moves right there in a pole position. Last but not the least, a character that I would have loved to see more on screen, Boodle the Mayor. Some might think that this character is not that relevant, but actually, I consider him quite important because it defines, like a mirror, the way Luffy and his crew approach the city inhabitants. While one might be puzzled and wonder about this absence from this arc, one has to praise Maeda and Owens for the incredible work that they have made in adapting the elements of this arc and of the first 10 volumes of the manga that this first season covers into such a great quality filming time. I could go on and talk about many elements, from Zeph's relationship with Sanji to Dracul Mihawk's one with Zoro. But actually, what we have to note is the incredible effort that each actor put in order to reach a sort of symbiosis with their own characters. For example, Iñaki Godoy, who has read the manga and watched the anime, but most of all carried throughout filming a picture of himself when he was 11 years old to feel free like Luffy in his story. Not to mention Makenyu as Roronoa Zoro with his sword training, or Tad Skylar as Sanji with his knife training in his preparation for the role of cook of the Straw Hat Pirates. Last but not the least, Emily Rudd playing Nami with her bow staff training, and Jacob Romero playing the sharpshooter of the Straw Hat Pirates, Aesop, with his slingshot training. For those who have grown up with these characters, seeing them portrayed on the big screen by such talented actors, and most of all, chosen and carefully chosen by both casting directors and the author himself, Eiichiro Oda, is a great privilege for the audience of this TV series. Talking about these characters being on screen, let's talk about the live premiere event in Milan, at the beautiful location of Bagni Misteriosi. As I was mentioning, I was one of the few lucky ones who had the chance of attending this live event thanks to Netflix Italy. When entering the location, you could already feel immersed in the world created by Eiichiro Oda, not only by the Jolly Roger of the Straw Hats towering over a screen on which the first 2 episodes of the TV show were shown to the public at a later stage, but also you could join the Straw Hat crew first of all by attempting a challenge by eating your own devil fruit, which actually was the durian fruit, mostly known for its terrible smell, but also by wearing a straw hat. As a matter of fact, all of the attendees of this great event were given a straw hat in celebration of the great pirate Monkey D. Luffy. The evening went on and on with interviews, photoshoot, and most of all, the presentation of the episodes that was carried out by the voice actor of Dracul Oak for the Italian market and of Kobe for the anime version, Maurizio Merluzzo, a great presenter and voice actor who absolutely delighted the audience with his wits and most of all his presenting skills. While having the first 2 episodes being shown while afloat on a platform at this beautiful location, and having had the chance of getting your own mugshot or wanted poster as a pirate, the party ran up until late, making this a night to remember. A huge thank you again for all those who were involved in the creation of this beautiful event. With this, our first video comes to an end, but if you liked it, show some love and subscribe to my channel for more upcoming videos. Thirsty for popular culture? Episoda.